Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, the Hulk, Spider-Man. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has birthed films that have defined a generation. Phase 1 saw audiences be introduced to their world, and when they came together in the Avengers, it was groundbreaking. Before Avengers, Marvel's movies were often overshadowed by DC Comics and Christopher Nolan's Batman movies. But when the Avengers came out, everything changed. It was a big deal, a movie event unlike anything before. It completely changed how superhero movies were seen. It was like the Fortnite of the film industry. It came in and popularized a genre and just emoted all over the other film studios. These studios have tried to copy Marvel's success with their own cinematic universes. The DC Extended Universe, the Sonic Cinematic Universe, the Hanna-Barbera Cinematic Universe, the fucking Garfield Cinematic Universe. Come on, man, you can't just release one movie and call it a whole-ass cinematic universe. However, none of these have matched up to the greatness that is the MCU. Through careful planning, creative chances, and a deep understanding of their characters, Marvel was able to create something truly special. Infinity War and Endgame offered a climactic, satisfying conclusion to the saga they had spent years building up. Unfortunately, the universe has, to put it nicely, been a disappointment since. There have been a few bright spots. Spider-Man No Way Home and Guardians 3 are genuinely some of the best films the MCU has to offer, but for every quality MCU project since Endgame, there's been 2 or 3 pieces of trash that have been released. And not just any trash, stinkier than the most spoiled milk left in the car on a hot summer's day. It hasn't been all bad, but overall, a decline in the quality of their films and TV shows, a lack of cohesive direction, and just general oversaturation and tediousness are what is killing the MCU. And it's all going according to their plan. Before we examine the poopy diaper that is the modern MCU, let's take a look at some of their positives. Phase 4 feels the most comic booky of the MCU phases. One of the biggest complaints of the Infinity Saga at one point was that all the movies felt the same. Like the movies were still trying to be the Avengers despite having different names. Phase 4 and 5 have been all over the place, with different genres and insanely different characters. You probably don't even have to watch everything from Phase 4 to understand the next things. You can sort of pick and choose what you want. This is a good thing for people who are interested in the universe and don't want to have to marathon 20 movies in chronological order. But that's pretty much it. Now, what about the bad? In the modern MCU, there seems to be a lack of passion in some of these projects, as if they're being continued solely for financial gain rather than out of genuine love for the characters and stories. It's disappointing, considering how much fans care about these characters, and how much thought and care was put into the stories in phases 1 through 3. Well, most of the time. There's also been a push for more representation, which isn't inherently bad, but it feels forced when the characters lack depth and proper development. To me, it feels like they're shoving these people into the universe as a PR move to show off how woke and how in touch they are, to try and reel in more money from people. I would imagine for women and people of other races and ethnicities, this level of representation isn't cool because it sacrifices storytelling for the sake of diversity. Finally, it seems like Phase 4 of the MCU is going too big too quickly. After Endgame, rather than resetting and building back up to a universe-ending threat, Kevin Feige decided to go balls to the walls and up the stakes even higher. The result has been the multiverse saga, but dealing with universes and multiverses has felt overwhelming and hard to grasp, especially since they haven't executed the whole multiverse concept well. I miss the grounded feel of the earlier phases, focusing on street-level heroes like the original Avengers, Bucky, and Spider-Man, facing threats to the Earth. People didn't connect with Iron Man and Captain America because they were super powerful and saving the universe in every movie. They liked them because they could connect with them. Peter Parker struggles to balance his responsibilities with living a normal life as a teenager. Tony Stark having everything he could possibly want, but still feeling inferior. And that is such a human condition. The Hulk coming in, and he's all like, it's Hulkin' time, and start to Hulk all over the place. Remember that? Keeping the movies grounded helps us to connect with the villains too. In Spider-Man Homecoming, what made the Vulture so great was not how powerful he was, because he was basically just a normal guy who could fly around. It's because his motivations were realistic and the audience could relate, and even sympathize with him. How the fuck can anybody relate to Kang the Conqueror? He's a time-traveling, borderline omnipotent being with millions of variants of himself, and some of them are evil. Why? Who knows? But with all the multiversal shenanigans happening, it's harder for the writers to build up both the heroes and the villains. So in summary, while Phase 4 has had its highlights, overall it feels like it's driven more by profit and representation rather than genuine passion and storytelling quality. Now, why is all of this happening? I've come up with 2 explanations. A realistic theory and my conspiracy theory. One so crazy that it could actually be true. For the realistic theory, the MCU seems to be following a pattern. Phase 1 of the MCU had its ups and downs, and while Iron Man became an instant classic, other movies like The Incredible Hulk and Thor received mixed reviews. However, everything came together brilliantly with the Avengers, which served as a climactic conclusion to Phase 1 and tied all the individual stories into one cohesive narrative. Phase 2, on the other hand, struggled to find its footing after the success of the Avengers. Some films like Captain America the Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy were very well received, but others such as Thor the Dark World and Iron Man 3 were pretty bad. Despite a strong box office performance, Avengers Age of Ultron was received very negatively. The writers must have blown in from Stupid Town on that one because it was a complete and utter mess. Phase 3 marked a return to form for the MCU with hits like Captain America Civil War, Thor Ragnarok, and Black Panther. The culmination of this phase with Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame was a massive success both critically and commercially, with Endgame becoming one of the highest grossing films of all time. Now in Phase 4 and moving on to 5, the MCU is facing similar challenges to Phase 2. While movies like Spider-Man No Way Home, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Shang-Chi, and Black Panther Wakanda Forever have performed well, others like Black Widow, The Eternals, and Thor Love and Thunder have struggled. The same goes for the TV shows, with some like WandaVision, Loki, and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier receiving praise, while others like Secret Invasion, She-Hulk, and What If have had mixed receptions. Overall, Phase 4 seems to be grappling with finding its direction after the epic conclusion of Phase 3, much like Phase 2 did after the Avengers. There are hits and misses, but the MCU has proven resilient in the past, and it's likely that it will find its stride once again as it builds towards the next big climax, Secret Wars. And everyone will hop back onto the bandwagon and continue to fill the pockets of the executives over at Marvel. Now, here's my little conspiracy theory. After the huge success of Endgame, the MCU reached a peak that seemed almost impossible to surpass. The film provided a satisfying conclusion to a saga that had been carefully crafted over more than a decade, resolving long-standing narrative arcs and bringing closure to beloved characters. As a result, narrative tension built up over several years was released, and fans have not felt the need to see everything. However, what if this perceived decline in audience engagement is not a sign of diminishing interest, but rather a calculated move by Kevin Feige, the mastermind behind the MCU? Over the years, Feige has become known for strategic planning and long-term vision for the franchise, and it's possible that he anticipated the inevitable drop-off in hype following the conclusion of the Infinity Saga. Like the great Palpatine, he plans for every outcome and is always 10 steps ahead. Feige may have intentionally allowed the MCU to enter a phase of relative calm and uncertainty, knowing that it would create the perfect opportunity to reset audience expectations and pave the way for a new era of storytelling. By lowering the bar in terms of immediate expectations, Feige could introduce new characters, concepts, and storylines without the stress of trying to surpass the insane success that was Endgame. The dip in excitement could serve as a breather for both audiences and the Marvel staff alike. It allows filmmakers to experiment with different genres, tones, and styles without the pressure of delivering the next blockbuster hit. This period of creative exploration could ultimately lead to the discovery of fresh and innovative ideas that rejuvenate the MCU for years to come. Just look at She-Hulk, truly an exquisite and groundbreaking piece of cinema. So even though it might seem like interest in the Marvel movies is dipping, it could actually just be part of a clever scheme to keep things fresh and exciting for the future. Or I could just be completely pulling shit out of my fucking ass. Well, I guess we will have to wait and see. Thanks everyone for watching until the end of the video. If you enjoyed, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to keep up with future videos, and leave a comment what you think of the current state of the MCU. Leave your suggestions on what I should cover next, and as always, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye!